Yep, I ordered 2 of them and I'm now selling my Mac Pro. In this video, I'll tell you exactly why, along with a short guide on how you should spec out yours depending on what you edit, and why this might be the perfect computer to edit Canon EOS R5 and Sony a7S III footage. If you want to see the best value 2025K iMac, I'll go ahead and link it down in the video description. Before I jump in, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications enabled, since I'll not only compare these to my Mac Pro, iMac Pro, and 16-inch MacBook Pro, but I'll also check for one specific thing that can make it fantastic for these new cameras as long as it works. Let me get a few of the more boring things right out of the way. On the exterior, the only difference that has changed is the option for Apple's nano coating, which retains most of the visual quality while blocking out reflections. We now have better microphones and finally a 1080p webcam instead of 720p. And with that, the SSDs are now completely standard, which is fantastic since that does save you some money right off the bat. The built-in SD card reader is finally UHS 2 speeds, just like the iMac Pro, which in the real world will give you speeds of up to 280 megabytes per second instead of around 100. We still have 4 USB ports and 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, but with the new graphics, those Thunderbolt 3 ports can now support up to 2 6K XDR displays. What excites me most I/O-wise is that we finally have an option to have 10 gigabit Ethernet, which is great for those working with a central media server like we do. This was literally the one reason why I bought an iMac Pro instead of a 5K iMac last year for Vadim to edit off of, but now I can sell that since this 5K iMac will smoke his and for less money. We have support for 128 gigabytes of RAM, but Apple charges an insane $2,600 to spec it that way, which you definitely shouldn't do. Thankfully, we could still upgrade RAM ourselves, and you can buy 128 gigs of RAM for about $460. I'll go ahead and leave a link down in the description below to the correct RAM and for our RAM upgrade guide. It doesn't void your warranty, and in just a bit, I'll give you my suggestions for how much RAM is actually worth it. The last hardware change before going into why I think the 5K iMac will be faster than my Mac Pro, for what I do at least, is the T2 chip. For some reason, the iMacs were Apple's last computers without the T2 chip, which was really odd since they help in a lot of ways. And for us video editors, they really speed up H.265 encoding, and without them, the 5K iMac took about twice as long to export videos compared to a MacBook Pro, and that is no longer the case. Now let's talk about the new processors and graphics. I'm mainly going to be focusing on the 2299 model since the lower end ones come with 6-core processors, and also the 5300M graphics can't be upgraded. Now the lower end models will still do a decent job at video editing, especially for 1080p in Final Cut, but I'd highly recommend getting the 2300 spec since you get an 8-core processor, which is actually faster than the very best CPU available last year, and faster graphics as well with double the video memory standard, which is important for 4K video editing. Let's start with the graphics. The new 5500 XT is about the same raw performance as the previous 580X it replaces, but for video editors, there is a massive difference because of how much new hardware decoding and encoding features are built in. These graphics are the latest from AMD, and even this base option can encode 4K at 90 frames per second and 1080p at 360 frames per second compared to 4K 30 and 1080 120 previously, so your export render speeds can be up to 3 times faster. Of course, that's if your graphics card can render all of your effects, titles, transitions in real time. Now this graphics card option is actually better than the $6,000 Mac Pros, but if you stack on multiple LUTs, corrections, and effects, then that is where the 5700 XT graphics come in. Not only is the raw performance close to 2.5 times more powerful, but Apple actually included 16 gigabytes of video memory instead of sticking with 8 gigs just like the mainstream desktop graphics cards. This is great for 4K video editors and even better for those that want to work with 6K and 8K files in the future. This graphics card seems to be the same one that I recommend to most people who are buying a Mac Pro for video editing, but Apple is charging less for the upgrade here, and the whole iMac costs way less and includes a 5K display. In my Mac Pro, I have the Vega 2, which was a $2,400 upgrade, and it does have a little bit more raw performance and double the video memory, but unless you're doing multiple 8K Red or 8K ProRes RAW video editing, there's honestly not that big of a difference, and that's why I recommend the cheaper one for most video editors. In fact, the biggest disappointment that I have with this expensive graphics that I bought is that it's using older encoders and decoders and the compression tech. For example, this new iMac can encode 4K video up to 35% faster and 1080p video up to twice as fast. Now, not only that, but it has hardware graphics encoders for 10-bit H.265 HDR video, and it can decode compressed 8K video without needing to use the CPU, which my Mac Pro can't. So this is the best overall graphics option for Mac video editors, and you no longer have to buy a Mac Pro to get the full performance from one of these 5700Xs. Now let's talk about processors and why this might be the perfect computer to edit Canon's R5 footage. Apple is using new 10th generation Intel processors, and the 8-core is now included, which used to be a $400 upgrade. This 8-core is about 20% more powerful than the 8-core that is inside of the $6,000 Mac Pro, and also the 8-core that is inside of the iMac Pro. Now, this base processor is so good that Apple had to drop the 8-core option from the iMac Pro, and now there's a 10-core standard, and even with that change, this new 8-core seems to be faster than the 10-core iMac Pro because it is a newer design and it has higher clock speeds. Now, if you decide to spend some extra cash, you can now get a 10-core processor that clocks up to 5 GHz. Of course, I'll still have to see how it handles all of the heat from the extra cores and how much of a performance difference there is between the 8 and the 10-core once they end up heating up. And I do have both versions coming in, so make sure you guys have those notifications enabled. Now for the part of the CPU that I am really looking forward to testing, and that's how it will handle the EOS R5's really difficult HEVC 10-bit 422 footage. If you guys saw my previous video where even my $15,000 Mac Pro couldn't play back the 4K 30 C-Log video from this camera, and let alone the 4K 60, this iMac could be way better than any other Mac out there. Now, my Mac Pro handled the 8K RAW footage way easier than the 4K 30, and that's because of one specific thing, the sub-sampling that Canon chose, which Panasonic, Fuji, and others avoided. That doesn't have dedicated hardware decoding from any graphics card that is out there, and most processors as well, which is why it is so much harder to both play back and it takes a lot longer to transcode. Well, in that video, I had a few commenters say that Intel's new 10th gen processors are including support for this codec, where AMD and Nvidia aren't, and you won't get it with their current tech. The only Macs that currently have those chips are the 13-inch MacBooks, which have integrated graphics and they can't handle this kind of video editing anyway, so this may be the first Mac to have both the decoders and the raw power that you need to be able to edit and work with this footage smoothly. And if it does work out, then this $3,500 iMac will be way better at video editing than my Mac Pro, at least when it comes to this kind of a codec, which you actually have to use if you want to shoot C-Log or HDR with the R5 or even the Canon R6. This codec is also one of the options on the A7S III, but I've been avoiding it because of how hard it is to edit. So let's hope that the few people that commented are correct, and if so, my Mac Pro is going up for sale. Now let's get into what spec you should buy. First off, if my videos are helpful, consider ordering through the links in the video description below to support my efforts. If you just edit 1080p or simple 4K editing and you're on a budget, just go for the $1,800 or the $2,000 5K iMac and add 32 gigs of RAM yourself for a total of 40 gigabytes. For most video editors though, I would start with the $2,300 spec. If you're like me and you're going to be using external storage to edit, I would stick with 512 gigabytes of SSD, but if you want to edit internally, up to 2 terabytes is an okay value. Just keep in mind that you can get a fast external 2 terabyte SSD for about $300. If you use or you think you're going to use hardwired NAS or a server in the future, or you might get gigabit Ethernet, I would spend the $100 to get 10 gigabit Ethernet. For me, this is critical and the sole reason why I bought an iMac Pro, but not everybody will need this. If you're unsure, I would probably just spend the extra anyway just to future-proof your iMac, and it could also help with resale later. Now onto the RAM. Please don't buy RAM from Apple. They designed this iMac to be upgradable and it only takes a few minutes, and doing so doesn't void your warranty. I have compatible RAM linked in the video description that could save you up to $2,100. If you're doing serious 4K editing, I would suggest either buying a 64GB kit that uses 4 sticks, or a kit that might cost a little bit more money but just uses 2 sticks, which will give you the ability to go up to 128GB in the future. Now at this point, I probably wouldn't save the 8 gigs that comes with your Mac, I would just set it aside. 64GB is really the sweet spot for these iMacs. I have 192GB in my Mac Pro, and rarely am I using over 64 gigs since the latest versions of macOS are so efficient with their RAM usage. In fact, the most I've ever seen used was 78GB, and that was me really pushing it with multiple powerful programs open and a ton of other things going on. So because of that, I would recommend 64GB for almost everyone. Now onto the graphics. If you do 4K editing in Final Cut or Resolve without too many effects, the 5500 XT will do. But if you're going to push it or you want to future-proof it, I would highly suggest spending the extra on the 5700 XT. It's $500 more, which is a big upgrade, but I would make that jump before doing anything else, even if it means having to edit with 8GB of RAM until you can afford more. You guys should know that graphics matters more than anything, and especially in the last year, and this is the graphics card that you want. I also wouldn't go for the 8GB 5700, which is a $300 upgrade. If you're going to be spending the extra money, go all the way and get more performance, and with it double the video memory. Now as far as CPUs, the 10 core is more powerful than the 8 core, but it's a $400 upgrade, which is steep. Now the raw performance of the 10 core is about 17% more or so, but that's without counting heat output, and there's a chance that the difference may be only 10% or less if it's under full load. Now both these processors use the same tech and they have really fast clock speeds, so for most people editing compressed 4K footage, I would just stick to the 8 core and save yourself $400. If you're somebody that is going to do raw video editing or 4K 120 or say 6K and 8K video editing, then I would probably go for the 10 core model as long as you have at least 64GB of RAM and the best graphics card first and foremost. And if you're on the fence choosing between one of these processors, just wait a little bit. I will test it out and I'll put out my video letting you know if it really is worth the 10 core after heat is accounted for. So there you guys go. Make sure to check out the links in the video description and let me know if you guys have any questions down in the comment section below. Enable those notifications. This has been Max, and I will see you in the next video.